All right. So, yep, I guess we can get started with the CDS. So, first of all, I put the highlights of the whatever we delivered in the reef there, so that that will be visible. Um, Things like the new landing page, the blog is there, this affects auth management, the server-side encryption, the multi-site. Multi-site just went in, so it won't be there for the major release. But we need to do more testing with QA, and then only we so that we will be rolling it out for the minor releases that comes up next. And the snapshot mirroring, the OST creation wizard, centralized logging, and the more focused on accessibilities. Yep, just wanted to highlight them before we go on to the Squid planning. So yeah, features that we are planning for this Squid release. First of all, this FFS management. I think this is like a long-standing feature that is pending from the dashboard side. We have the FFS management listing available so far in the dashboard, and there are other smaller monitoring functionalities there, but we don't have the management functionalities like creating the volume, creating the managing the sub volume, or doing the FFS mirroring, snapshot management, things like that. So this time around, we started with this FFS management. So I think we already have a PR for the volume management, which Pere is currently working on. So on the volume management, right? Once we're done with the volume management, along with the volume management, will be working parallelly with the sub volume group management and sub volume management. So today we actually got together and discussed what how we could deliver this from a design perspective, how these items would go in the dashboard. We had some ideas on how this will look in the current view that is there. Probably on the next week, we will have a couple of PRs on sub volume group management and the sub volume management. Basically, the sub volume listing and sub volume group, listings. So once we done with the sub-volume group and sub-volume management, we will go with the sub-volume access management and the snapshot management. So I feel like the sub-volume access management is like kind of like an advanced functionality. I'm not completely sure, but maybe I would prefer the snapshot management to go in first if there is no tight dependencies between the sub-volume access management and the snapshot management. Probably once we're done with that, we can go with the FFS mirroring, which we don't have anything there on the FFS mirroring. We recently completed the block mirroring in the dashboard, where there was a gap in the snapshot based mirroring. But yeah,
Did we lose Nizam?
did, am I not audible?
Yeah, I can't hear him as well.
Okay. Okay.
I can hear him fine.
Ah,
Am
I
I
can
audible?
hear him as well.
Okay.
Okay.
You can hear him, Nizam.
Okay.
I cannot hear Nizam, but I can hear everybody's. Okay. Something weird.
okay. Maybe you can rejoin and question. You won't hear me. I guess okay. I will continue. So this FFS mirroring, basically, yeah, the block. We once the snapshot management is complete, we will go with the FFS mirroring, and that way, this FFS, most of this FFS management functionality will be there in the dashboard. Yeah, that's the plan with this FFS management feature. Do you guys have any questions here or anything? Pere is not here, otherwise he could have let you guys know about this thing more. But if you guys have any questions, let me know.
For me, this all sounds good.
Just checking, Adam. I'm not sure about it, but is that day two management of Ceph FS available via Ceph ADM as well? Any of this mirroring things that have some automation done on top of it via the ADM?
Only deployment of the mirroring daemons. The rest of it is like managing the actual volumes itself, creating volumes, stuff like that. That's just other CLI tools within Ceph. Do that.
Okay.
Doesn't not a Ceph ADM thing.
Okay, sounds good.
And from the dashboard as well, right? We rely on the CephFS tools to manage the CephFS entirely. We only rely on the Ceph ADM when we are deploying the service, or, deploying the when we are creating the volume.
Okay, sounds good. One question probably, Nizam, over there is, did we ever planned out enhancement to our monitoring system on the CFFS side? Any thoughts around that?
We haven't actually. We haven't. We have a couple of monitoring items in this FFS area, but that's it, I guess. But apart from that, we never planned out for any monitoring items so far. But I think we should. I'm not sure what's the scope of monitoring for what are all things are available in this FFS area. Probably we should check and try to explore some of them if we are not already doing that.
Okay, yeah, because in CFFS, MDS, right, I can see only maybe 2 or 3 graphs right now in Grafana, and there isn't much over there, right? Visibility into the system. So if we have metrics available, right, we need to check that up, I assume, right? And probably it will be good to have CFFS monitoring as well, to extent, right, where user should be able to debug certain things from the monitoring aspect, and that gets crucial.
Yeah, I agree. So Ashish, do you know any CFFS metrics that we could use in the dashboard that we are already not using?
I haven't found any, but yeah, the ones that are there, we are already using them.
So is it like, if we say that, is it somewhere deficit in the CFFS system that is not providing us right now, or do we not expose it via the performance metrics? Do we know where the gap is right now?
Yeah, so we don't have the metric in place itself. So I'm not sure if we are getting any counters for that. That I can check.
Yeah, we're getting the MDS perf counters, and we are already showing that in the dashboard. But apart from that, I'm not sure we are getting much. Maybe it will be there. Maybe something should have been improved recently, but that we need to check. I remember Gaurav Sitlani and those people were looking into this FFS metrics a while ago. Maybe they have identified some of the metrics that could be useful here. So Gaurav is already here in IBM with us, so maybe we could ask him something regarding this one.
Okay, sounds good.
Any other questions? Shall I move on to the next one? All right. The RGW overview dashboard. So this is like to show. So this is like to introduce a dashboard where we show on a high level how or that the overall RGW steps are doing. So there are a couple of designs, but the one that we are following right now is what Ashish was proposing from this PR. So there were some initial proposal, but based on the recent discussions with Ernesto, we came up with this particular view for the RGW overview. This is not complete. We will have to include the RGW multi-site metrics as well from here. So this view will exist in the object gateway section as an overview page where users can see the overall RGW statistics. We are exposing some of the charts as well here. And yeah, Ashish, if you want to comment something else I missed out here, probably you can use this.
Yeah, so Yeah, so mostly we are going to show the number of RGW entities, like the number of daemons that we have, buckets, and the number of multi-site entities like realm, zone, group, and zones. So similarly, we were not showing the total number of objects as well anywhere. So we are including that here as well. And apart from that, we have the total request per second, latency, and bandwidth across all the RGW instances. So that is summarized in these graphs. And then we have the total used capacity by RGW and the average object size as well. So below this these three charts, we'll be having the metadata sync and the data sync that we get from the Rados gateway sync status command. So we'll be showing the multi-site sync status there.
Hmm.
That's it mainly.
Okay, so these three, and then there will be the multi-site sync stages for the RGW, right?
No, it will be a separate card below.
Yeah, I mean that,
Yeah,
overall these items, and then there will be the multi-site sync stages.
multi-site sync. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else we could expose here from your recent investigations, exposure or on this area?
Sorry.
Anything, any other metrics or statistics we could expose here based on your?
Yeah. So we'll be waiting for the metrics from the RGW team
Uh-huh.
regarding buckets and users, bucket user-wise metric as well. So after that, we can show top 10 buckets by IO or top 10 users by IO. So that data will be available after we get the implementation from RGW team. So yeah, in the next iteration we can take to that stuff as well.
Okay.
And probably also the used capacity uh, for object storage is something probably we could add once the metrics are available, and how the capacity is increasing over a period of time. If a user can see that, that is something that will be great. And in my opinion, I think it will be good to see long term, right? Some quota informations as well. I don't know how we consolidate that, but it is something that would be great to add.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Okay. Thanks, Ashish. So yeah, that's mostly regarding the RGW overview dashboard. I think most of the things are in place. We just need to expose the multi-site sync status, and we will be consuming the multi-site sync status command, right, instead of the metrics directly. Right.
Yeah, we don't have any metrics for multi-site sync, so we'll be using the CLI for that.
Okay. Ernesto posted a screenshot. Um, S3 has this storage lens. Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple of videos. Actually, it's highly customizable, so maybe we don't really want to get that far. But well, just to ensure that the high-level metrics, we have those.
Mhm.
So for consistency, I think it's the average object size. I think that's already there. So, but for example, we were talking about the total storage, and we had this discussion on this pie chart showing the total versus the consumed. And yeah, maybe it makes sense to do the same as we already did for the landing page to display this pie chart only with the consumption of the S3 data.
Okay. Yeah. And this total storage, right? Where would be getting this total storage data? Is that the some of these the RGW pools that we are consuming?
I'm not sure if there is some quota for that, or the RGLU pool simply grow until they exhaust the available capacity. If that is the case, it will be the general Ceph capacity.
Okay.
Okay, so the total storage here will be the total storage capacity of the Ceph cluster, right? Understood.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that total storage means the use storage or the available one. What's your
Yeah.
feeling?
It looks like the uh, not the available one. It looks like the overall storage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall storage can change based on the quota sets, right, on different places. I don't know how we will calculate that those values, right? Because there can be multiple pools that are there, and then multiple quota sets on, and there can be pools that doesn't have quota set. So ideally, the calculation of it is very, in my opinion, is a very difficult task.
Okay.
Thoughts, Ernesto, over there?
Yeah. I mean, sorry. Yeah. I mean, if it's the use capacity or the provision capacity, I think that's okay. So
Okay.
But
Thanks.
it seems like we have covered like most of the information from this, right?
It looks like it buckets. The accounts would be the user, right? Or
Yeah.
something else. Then all requests would be the requests that are coming to this, to the S3 API.
Yeah, but we have a graph for that, which should be good.
Yeah. Okay. I think yeah, sounds good. I'll just paste this in the note anyways for future references so that we don't lose it. See. All right. Anything you guys want to discuss on this one? The HW overview. If not, I think we can move on to the cluster upgrade management. So with the help of Cephadium, right, the dashboard will be trying to start and manage the cluster upgrade. For now, we are mostly focusing on the minor releases, the dot releases, like 17.1 to dot 3, like that. We are not putting much focus on the major releases, so that will come after after some vigorous testing on this minor version and how it goes. So far the view, we have a design. We have created a mock design for this, which would look like this. But we have made significant changes in this design. The layout, for example, currently looks somewhat like. Let me see if I have the screenshot. Yeah, I don't know. Uh, can you see this, the whole screen, or what do you guys see?
yeah, it is visible.
Yeah. Okay. So the layout currently looks a bit like this. With the current version, the cluster status, the upgrade status, and the daemon versions, and showing the logs as well. Maybe there will be a few more changes here, once we get to finalize the full design. But more or less, the view should look like this, and a user would be able to trigger an upgrade from this button. This lies under the cluster navigation cluster, uh, title there. From there, you would be able to reach this upgrade status. Probably able to manage the start and upgrade from there. Once the upgrade is started, it will show you a progress like this. So the whole progress can be visible over here, and the cluster logs will be shown below. That will be helpful to notice what exactly is happening in the cluster, and we'll be able to pause and stop the upgrade as well. And once the upgrade is finished, I think you will see this message. So, yeah, that's the high level design. There will be changes here on all these pages. Yeah. Mm, if you guys have any questions, yeah, please.
I think, in my opinion, it's a great addition. I think just to probably provide some context over here, I think this was Probably the most asked thing from a Ceph on a dashboard, right? Where people wanted to manage upgrade from the dashboard itself and look for the versions. You probably look for the version for different daemons or services that are there, so that they can see uh, if those are outdated, and then they can go and upgrade. I think this is for a good step towards that, where we can later on dive into particular daemon version upgrades as well, and that will provide a lot of usability on the dashboard side. That's my take over here. Also, I think upgrading to the major version in upcoming release would be a good idea. And probably one good addition could be that if we could uh, mention, I don't know how we manage the end of life for particular releases, but if we can mention if some of the some uh, versions are end of life, that we can mention it in the dashboard that these are end of life and you might need to update them up. So I think that would be a more complete UX experience for a user who's trying to do unmanaged stuff and its upgrades from the dashboard.
I'm not sure how the end of life is managed, but I know that it is documented somewhere in our site documentation. But we cannot rely on those logs, right? That will mostly the dates will change if some releases get postponed or something like that happens.
Yeah, I think the end of life stuff could be hard upstream, just because it's usually end of life for like the major release, like the end of life for Pacific will be at some time, but not for like a particular Pacific release. So you'd have to sort of watch that somehow. But I guess part of the problem is I mean, the last release is going to come out before it's like we're basically right as it's in the end of life, and so how are you going to have the stuff in there to check that? I don't know. I think it could be a difficult thing to implement.
Okay. Uh, what's the Adam? What's the general idea when things go end of life? Is it like -2 releases or -3? What's the what's
So
the
usually we have an end of life date for like a release, like Pacific, for example. I think is end of life. Eddie was a bit earlier, but we're pushing that one back. And then I think after that happens, it means we're not going to do any more releases for that. So like if there's any more bugs or anything in that release, you have to, and we want them fixed, you're gonna have to upgrade to like a next major release. But it's really just basically when we're going to stop doing releases for that major version. It doesn't really mean anything else, I think.
Okay. Probably, yeah. Yeah. Okay. That can be difficult until unless we maintain somewhere upstream a set of metrics on this, right? On how many days are left, or how many days we will go end of life on each of the version. Other than that, I find it difficult as well then.
Mhm.
Yeah. But Ceph ADM, based on the Ceph ADM experience, Adam, you have, right? I want to take your opinion on the UI right now we are developing. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not complete, but have you seen it? If not, right? Uh, like the way it is developing right now, right? Do you see value coming out of it from a customer perspective?
Yeah, if the goal is to make them able to do everything from the dashboard, which I think was generally the idea, then yeah, it seems like it could be good. Also, the fact that you can do things like showing the logs and upgrading or showing the status, like updated on the page rather than having to retype the command or know what the status. I think there's some benefits there. I think generally it looks like it's going in a good direction. Another thing that I maybe have concerns about is I think for listing the upgrades, the Orch upgrade LS we have right now is a bit flaky. It only really works with the actual upstream queue. It doesn't work if you have like a local repo you're putting your images on. So there may be some issues there, but I think for the actual running the upgrade, if they have an image put in correctly, it seems like it's going well. I think it's a good feature to have.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think moving forward, probably once the feature is developed, maybe we will need some of your help on the feedback as well on this, and how easy is it has become to use it, and what could be ideally based on your experience, what could be more additions for upcoming releases from our side.
All right, I'll definitely give it a try once it's more of it's finished. and see sort of how it compares to my experience using the CLI. Because obviously I've done a bunch of upgrades over the CLI, so I'm pretty familiar with how it should feel like doing this stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds good. Also, right, Adam, from the dashboard, right, we are not providing that what do you say, the image field, right, where you provide a custom image and start the upgrade, right? So right now we are only relying on the org ls to provide the versions, only the versions, and with that versions only we are starting the upgrade. So if you can see here, I ignore this one, so it would be like 18.3, 2.3, 18.4, something like that, and that is the only thing that we are using to start the upgrade. I'm not sure
That's
how.
the one that I'm a bit concerned about because I'm not sure it would work with like local repos or anything. And I think it'd be hard to necessarily make it always work. Sort of the way they upgrade LS. So it basically just queries the registry for images and stuff, but it needs them to be in a certain format to work properly. And I don't know, again, it won't work for the local ones, or if you have some other repo somewhere that you're putting your images. So that's the one thing I'd maybe be concerned about. Maybe it would be worth having a sort of way to put in the image if they're confident in what image they want to do. Like, it's definitely nice to list the ones in like the standard case. They have like the new upstream versions listed there. That's great, but I think it might. I don't know. I think there's definitely gonna be some people who might need to be able to put the image in manually.
Okay. Probably a question over there. I think I remember the discussion about this having with Nizam. And would that be a probability that it can also mess up the cluster based upon the version or the image that they have passed, right? And the things are not correct over there or built not correctly over there. Is that a possibility?
I mean, upgrading to the wrong version, I guess, could have negative consequences. We don't. The orchestrator itself will block some of the more like egregious things. If you try to upgrade like down a major version, like it'll just fail. It'll block that. Stuff like that. So some of the more destructive ones we will, and then if it's like not a Ceph image at all, it should fail on like the very first daemon it's trying to deploy, so it won't actually go to completion. I don't think it would do enough to cause permanent damage. But like I say, I think it's just good to do it this way. The sort of thing where you list out the versions upgrade, that's good for the standard case. It's just, I think the workaround should exist for people who are using some non-standard stuff. You want them to still be able to use the dashboard to do upgrades. I think there's going to be some instances, again, of people with local repos or something where they're going to want to do an upgrade. And this upgrade LS sort of stuff that lists these versions is going to be able to find the images they pulled down. So I think for people who sort of know what they're doing, it's nice to have the workaround available. Although for the standard case where they're just on the upstream release images on Quay where we push them right now, I think the listing the versions could be good. So it's more just for special cases. I think it's nice to have the workaround there.
Okay. Probably something we can consider.
Yeah. Also for testing, I think it's nice. If you want to like say test this sort of working and everything, so it's nice to just have little weird images you put up on like your own repo or just my own personal Quay account or something. Whereas right now, it seems like I'd have to only be able to test upgrading to one of the actual images. So just for that reason alone, it's also just nice to have like a fallback way of specifying the full image if I want to.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Adam. Also, right, I think you just mentioned, but let me just clarify. So once an upgrade fails, right, does it cleans itself, or do we need to do something else over there?
No, it just sort of pauses when it fails. It's sort of dangerous even like to attempt to clean up there, so we don't try it. Yeah, so normally what you do at that point, if it does fail, is you have to look at the failure reason, because there's a million different reasons it could have failed. Often it's like this wouldn't be a problem if you're using this image listing thing, but it's if you do typo the image name, it'll like fail pulling the image originally, in which case you have to just start it again on a new image. If it actually fails deploying the daemon, like say the first manager tries to redeploy, that fails for some reason, then that's obviously a bigger deal, but you'd have to go sort of debug what's wrong with the image you're upgrading to and why the manager failed. So we don't do anything. We don't attempt to fix it or anything. We sort of leave it as is, and we just stop upgrading. And in theory, if you have like a bad image or something really wrong, it should fail early enough that your cluster is still like running and still in an okay spot. Maybe there's just like one manager that's on some weird image or something like that. But you do have to like manually sort of figure out what happened. We do provide obviously the failure reason as much as we know about it. But sometimes it might just be like we tried to deploy the manager on this version, this new image, and it just doesn't work. It crashed immediately or something like that. In which case you would have to investigate a bit more on your own.
Okay, makes sense. So the upgrade, it just passes itself on the state,
Yes,
right?
it just stops. It basically, I think pretty much exactly is it pauses itself. So the like upgrade status field or command, I'm sure you've looked at a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So that has like an is pause
paused,
field,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So that will be set to true, and then it will have there's like an error field or error message or something. I forgot what it's called, and that will get populated with the reason for the failure, and also a help warning will get raised saying the upgrade failed, and it'll have that same reason there.
Okay, yeah, then we can utilize that first to mark an error.
I say even like our CI testing for the upgrade stuff, that's exactly how we check if the thing has failed. Is we just look for that error field in the upgrade status to be populated, because that only gets populated when it actually like fails an upgrade.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, probably we can use that. So I was trying to differentiate between an actual pause and the error. So yeah, if it is there, probably then we can use that one.
Yeah, you can be pretty confident if there's an error listed there, then it was an actual failure, not a pause. They should get cleared when they restarted. I think we fixed that, so it does that. If they just pause it themselves, or if they restart it after it failed earlier, which sometimes people want to do.
Okay.
One more thing over here that probably I want to comment. So while doing this early testing of this feature, right? What I realized was when I started the upgrade, right, it waited for some time and then the dashboard became unresponsive and it gave a message saying that there are no something like there are no active managers and the dashboard was not coming up, right? And then I saw FFADM docs and there is a failure scenario listed over there. Is there any plans to fix that scenario from a FFADM perspective, and can we anyhow get through it, because user will not be able to see the dashboard in that kind of scenario if a dashboard only goes away while upgrading?
I think that's because the manager is going down for the upgrade. So the standby kicks in and the active manager goes down. The standby will basically the dashboard will be staying in the standby manager.
Yeah, I'm not
And
sure
once
exactly.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Keep going, Nizam.
Yeah, and once the active manager gets updated, we again get the dashboard back. So that's how the update process goes on. In at least what I see in the dashboard. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much what Nizam said is correct. I don't know if you saw, or I don't know what exactly you're looking at, but if you're looking at the upgrade failure, like we list them out somewhere, I think. There is one for no active manager or something like that, or no standby manager, I think is actually the failure.
Yeah.
But that's if you that's when you're starting the upgrade, if there's just no manager to fail over to, we have something like that. But as far as what you're actually seeing in the upgrades, that is what Nizam was talking about, which is that as part of the upgrade, we have to actually upgrade the current active manager at some point. And so there's going to be some brief period where it's failing over the managers. So we can upgrade the one that had been active previously. And because the dashboard runs on the active manager, there's going to be a brief moment where it's going to go down and then come back up again. But I think you guys have redirection implemented for the standbys. I'm pretty sure it should sort of come back to, you should be able to like see the same URL and everything. It's just there's going to be a brief moment where it's not going to be responsive early in the upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah, the dashboard, when you try to reload the dashboard, it should ideally go back to, fail over to the standby.
I think issue was probably Adam, on the part that you described where there was no standby manager, but when I started at that point of time I had a standby manager, so that's the validation we have in the UI, so I was able to start it. But what I was able to see later on was that there is no active standby manager to move to, and then it was stuck over there for a longer time. Something
Okay,
like
I'd have
that
to look at
happened.
that particular case. If you have two managers, it should work fine. Because that's what we do in our CI testing is two managers. And so obviously one standby at the start, then it fails over to that one and upgrades the active one. So I'd have to look at your particular case. What happened there?
Maybe my manager was a bit flapping. Maybe that's the reason. And then in between, maybe it got the standby manager went away, and then I think that point of time the dashboard was not able to come back up. So that was the reason I had to redeploy my cluster. So that's the that's the thing that happened. I think it happened today only while I was testing it out.
Okay, I'll be testing it out myself as well. So once it's more again completed, so I'll see if I see this as well. I might just look at your particular case and what should happen there. I'll see what happened.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam, for the discussion. Yeah. And yeah, one more thing that I want to mention over the upgrade management would be the upgrade history, which Ceph will be delivering at some point around. Once that is there, we'll reflect some of this basic the current view to show the history of the team. That's useful. I think that's all about the upgrade management. I'm not sure if you anyone else has comments to that. All right. I guess that's all the features that we are currently prioritizing for Squid. Sure. I guess something like that. Or if there's something that I need to add to the list so that we can focus on, you know, and push Ernest towards the
Sorry, Sam, I could barely hear you.
Okay, so I was saying, that's all the features that we have for the script that I wrote down. So if you guys have anything else that I want to, or we need to prioritize, so then I can add to the list. Just asking for something, anything that we have.
I was going to ask a little bit, just because we have this upgrade feature coming in. If you guys have plans to try to do CI testing for upgrades through the dashboard, because I know that this is one of the areas that we catch a lot of failures. The CI test we have for Ceph ADM for the upgrade, it's been super useful to have testing for that and all the PRs you put in. So I'm just curious if you guys have plans to do the integration testing for that.
Okay, I don't think we can use the KCLI cluster to test it out in the way we are doing right now. The Ceph ADM E2E checks that we run in the PRs. I think that it will go into errors in between, and also, right, we need specific versions to upgrade to as well, right? So, not sure how the Ceph ADM is doing that. We can take.
So in Ceph ADM, because you can specify just an image name, we just upgrade to like a planned image, or we'll upgrade depending on the test. Between like planned images, or we'll upgrade to like the CI image we built for that particular test. Because this is like in histology, so we have an image for like the current set of things we're testing, and we'll upgrade to that. As it with the dashboard, if you keep just this sort of, we're going to only let you upgrade to the versions we listed here, it'll be a bit hard. But so I think it'd be good to have a workaround anyway, to list out an image name, and then that would maybe enable you to test that a bit more.
But I'm mostly concerned about the tool that we would use. With the Cypress, I think it will fail immediately if we try to use it. So we will need something else to manage the upgrade entirely. I don't have any thoughts about it right now. Probably be understood. If you have any idea regarding this one, it would help me out here. But
Yeah, no, I mean, thinking whether it could be possible to have kind of a mock upgrades or something, so we could trigger those.
mocking, right? Adam.
We don't have anything equivalent to that. I mean, I think all of our current upgrade testing is doing actual upgrades on like real clusters. We have all our unit testing related to upgrades, but it's been very, very hard to any like sort of fake the upgrade stuff. It relies a lot more on real stuff like that, and like say like the bootstrap for Ceph ADM. It's always hard to take those things and test them. So those have been relying pretty heavily on our integration testing, and that's kind of again why I was asking if there had been any plans around that, because I think that would be kind of difficult, and I was curious what you guys were thinking about it. But it sounds like it's something that needs to be looked at a bit more.
Yeah, needs to be looked at a bit more. With the Cypress, right? It just tries to. I think there is a timeout for Cypress, so it won't hold up till the upgrade is like complete or something like that. Maybe we can increase the time or something the environment, but I don't think it will work because the manager is going to go down at one point and the dashboard will be down. So yeah, the Cypress is anyways going to be. We will need to think for some alternatives here to test the stability of the dashboard.
Probably a different question. How much time does it take, Adam, based upon your experience with customers to upgrade to a newer version right now?
It depends very heavily on the cluster size. Obviously you can range from, let's say if I upgrade a very small cluster, like if I have a little test on with like 3 nodes and say there's like 20 daemons or something, it doesn't take that long. Maybe take like 10 minutes. On the big ones, especially if you have a lot of hosts, it tends to be slow because we currently don't have any implementation for parallel pulling of the images. And so you're going to end up having to pull the new image on every single host that you have Ceph daemons on. And so that takes a long time. Usually it happens when it's upgrading like the crash daemons, because we put those 1 per host. So that ends up being very slow. And then usually the other part that takes a while is OSDs, because people tend to have a lot of OSDs. So we have to obviously upgrade every single one of those. That we can do in parallel, but we limit it. We check for like an okay to stop sort of thing to make sure that we're not affecting the PG like availability while we're upgrading too much. So that takes a while as well, but like we can upgrade maybe 6 or 7, but if you have a cluster with 200 OSDs, it's still going to take a little bit. But it's usually not that bad, but it does scale with the size of the cluster.
Okay. And with the 3 nodes, you said how much time? Because I'm particularly worried about the Cypress testing, right? And how much basically with 20 services, 3 nodes, is there approx timing so that we can consider right now?
I haven't checked it super. I haven't like timed it myself, but I usually it's like 10, 15 minutes max. It's not usually like that long.
Okay.
And right, it will be even more slower in the Jenkins environment. So, and in the Jenkins, right, we are deploying the VMs with very limited resources. So it will take some more time for that to complete.
Yeah, that would slow it down a bit, for sure.
I think we can investigate it, like try to see come up with some ideas regarding testing from the dashboard. It looks like a good idea. So, testing the upgrade in an easy way. Yeah, we'll try to see what kind of tools we can use from different perspective.
All right, that sounds good. There's nothing decided now. I just wanted to bring it up because I think I've gotten a lot of value out of having integration testing for that in Ceph Video. So,
yeah, sounds good. All right, thank you, Adam. I think we can go on to the other improvements that I have there. The usability improvements. It goes without saying, we are trying to continuously improve the usability. I think in the last couple of years we have identified a lot of issues with the usability and try improved around a lot of things there. The one-click OSD creation wizard would be one thing, but could be considered as a great usability experience. And also like minor improvements are also in place for them, and we are continuously identifying the whatever improvements we could do there and get it done. We will probably need to have a couple of more round of discussions regarding this usability and what else can be improved from a user standpoint, to identify the usability issues that we have in the dashboard.
I have one question over there as well. On the one-click OSD creations and the wizard workflow that we have created for the expand of cluster, right?
Yeah.
Are we planning to expose that expand cluster after the cluster is once created with 3 nodes? Because I see that there could be a lot of value over there when person tries to expand their cluster. they just does not have to be go to each of the pages, right? Host page, OST page, and other places, right? And service page to do certain kind of things. So if there is a workflow, they can go by it, which is already present.
Yeah, I think we are discussing this for some time right now. Trying to expose the expand cluster button to somewhere so that it can be started anytime. Maybe we can think of try to find a place for that expand cluster button so that it can be started from any time.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Then we have the performance improvements. I think right now Paul Kessler is helping out in testing the dashboard with 100 posts, 1,000 OSDs. When he started testing the dashboard, there he identified some significant performance issues with the host and the dashboard landing page with around 74, 80 or 80 hosts or something, or 800 OSDs, something similar to that number. Uh, number around like 20-second delay for loading some of the pages like host and the dashboard landing page. But after several testings and reiterations, Pere managed to fix some of the issues. He introduced server-side pagination in the host, and do some caching there. And the end result is like with 100 hosts and 1,000 OSTs, and the host page were started loading within 2 or 3 seconds. That's so far the progress we made in some of the performance improvements, and we are trying to introduce the server-side pagination to other areas like the OSDs, the alerts where OSDs and alerts where these performance issues are more visible from the dashboard. That's under roadmap, so that's continuously being delivered. So once the host is addressed, we will move on to the other item, probably OSDs or alerts, whichever we need to address first. We will have a look at those and try to fix it. That's mostly the plan there. The landing page improvements. We recently delivered the new landing page, and again, I identified a lot of issues there. So most of them are fixed already, and probably the other fixes that we need to do would be regarding the what the layout and the responsiveness of the the whole layout. That we will need to plan out for some more improvements, and we need to deliver it up. But apart from that, I think the whole query and what the whole metrics being incorrect are resolved. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pedro. If you have anything to say here, you can, as you work most on the landing page.
No, I don't think there's anything else to add. I think we covered everything we saw.
All right, sounds good. Then the RGW multi-site improvements. The multi-site is something that is produced recently, which had a limited testing. Most of the testings are done by the developers of the multi-site feature from our dashboard side. So we will need to do continuous, more testings in the multi-site improvements on how it looks like on production cluster and get more feedbacks to improve the tweaks that we delivered in the multi-site area. That's still we are still testing it out to identify some of the improvements there. But yeah, once we identify some more improvements there, we will be fixing them up as well. And then the overall RGW improvements, things like the bucket list improvements, whatever improvements that we could deliver on the RGW area, so that will all go under RGW improvements, because RGW it constantly gets added with features and improvements from the CLI. So we always try to play. We always try to catch up with those folks over there. So it will be continuously improving. The other thing I want to emphasize on the dashboard would be the test coverage. Right now, we are delivering some features, but we are lacking E2E coverage on most of the features that we delivered over there. So one thing we should be improving from our side would be it would be improving the E2E coverage, and at least improving the unit test coverage in the dashboard. So couple of examples like the RGW multi-site and some of the recent stuff we delivered in the dashboard, it went in without any E2E testing from the the, from our side. So we will need to address them as soon as possible and try to get more coverage as possible there to catch any issues that are coming on that area. And things like increasing the increasing the unit test coverage. I think we are talking regarding the code sometime for now. Probably this will help us maintain a code coverage the in our Ceph repository. At least we can we can limit it to the 5 byte modules and just even the dashboard module and just uh, adhere to the policies that we set. So whenever we raise a PR, we have to maintain the coverage that we already have in the repository. So something like that we should be doing in the dashboard. So any thoughts on these items or anything that you guys want to mention? Please comment out. Oh, all right.
Maybe one comment on the RGW multi-site again. Uh, so is there any plans right now on the RGW to so right now, based upon my understanding, right now we are covering active scenario in the RGW. Is there a active passive scenario that we are planning to cover anytime soon? Based upon the disaster scenarios, we can turn one as passive and another one as active, rather than both being active.
I remember actually starting the disaster recovery, or at least designing the disaster recovery from the dashboard. Maybe Ashish, can you?
So there was no design as such, but we have a task created for that. So not taken it for priority, but yeah, we can take it later up.
Yeah.
And
I think
how complex is that? Just from the UI perspective.
Yeah, need to actually discuss this with the RTW team because they said it's you can say a cumbersome process. So there might be some steps that they only know for that and that we need to follow. So need to catch up with them for this.
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, what I think is that this would be important for the feature that has been introduced recently on the RJW, which is archive zone, right? To manage those. So an archive zone cannot be an active zone again, right? So that could be a problem. So we need to make sure that there is a way to set active passive through the dashboard as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think that's all I have the list, and I also have an open topic for a dashboard specific telemetry. And also to see which page the user uses most in the dashboard. That way we can focus on that particular section and provide more improvements there. I was hoping that that discussion could happen with the telemetry folks, and they could help us out because there's already a telemetry available in the Ceph repo. Probably we could utilize that and expose more metrics from the dashboard to the telemetry. And that way we can see the dashboard stuff in the telemetry as well. We should have a discussion with telemetry folks soon to see this is feasible at all. But otherwise, we will need to look for alternate tools that could help us get these things.
The CDS for the telemetry is right after this. We want to ask them there maybe.
Okay, right after this one. Okay.
It's like literally starting right now, basically.
Yeah, I will join there and probably just talk there. Thanks for that. And yeah, I think that's all the things I have for the list. If you guys have any final thoughts or final comments on any of these items, I can take it up or we can end it here. All right. So I'll stop the recording. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. I think that's
Thank you, Nizam. Thank you, folks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.